My original intention, much earlier this week, was to, just make a few notes and mostly just be in this energy of being together. I was so looking forward to it. But as I started making just a few notes, one thing led to another, and it grew into something that is important to me, that I think we need to look at this particular time. And one reason for it, I was talking to my friend Sean, who advised me over on some of this, that what the social media has done to news, to rumors, to gossip, to opinions, to attacks, and out of that, I think there's a necessity for us to center ourselves in what we know to be true. And of course, because of my focus on Bible, I was thinking in those terms. From the history of Abraham, which is several chapters into the book of Genesis, after the 5 sort of creation myths, all the way through to Malachi and the final minor prophets, a surprisingly large part of the Hebrew scripture that Jesus studied and embraced, because people are sometimes shocked to realize Jesus did not have the New Testament to work with. His Bible was what we now call the Old Testament, Hebrew scripture. Probably 80% of it consists of what we would call today current events. Religious reflections and reactions to the drama of life going on around them. They weren't focused on, metaphysical, spiritual concepts or metaphysical ideas. They were focused on, how do I get through the day? And how do we as a people keep ourselves together and healthy? God was not simply a concept. God was the inexorable power that rewarded and punished through all the practical challenges of life. Growing food, maintaining safe shelter, learning to live in community, choosing leaders, obeying a body of laws that sometimes seem to be growing every time you turn around. Today, we look back at that history, at those stories, not as current events, but as a very different perspective, as a big picture. We recognize that their practical concerns were really an expression of eternal spiritual truth, and that without realizing it, they were expanding their willingness to live according to spiritual guidance. We don't always know when we're going through it that we're having a spiritual experience. Do you have that experience in your own life, don't you? You just try to deal with an emergency that comes up, and it's only in looking back on it. But immediately looking back on it, you just think, wait a minute, there was something else going on there. There's something I can learn from that. There's something I can take away. So the question that has come up for me recently is whether we still need the passing of large amounts of time, centuries and centuries, before we can find the spiritual truth underlying our current events. If their current events, hundreds of years ago, turned out to be spiritual guidance, or religious guidance at least, then perhaps we can know that the same is true for our current events, and we don't have to wait centuries to get a different perspective to see it. In Hebrew scripture, those who were able to see the spiritual underpinnings of what was going on, and there were those people, they were called prophets. And throughout the entire Hebrew scripture, their basic message was, if you continue to make fear-based choices, you're going to continue to lead a fear-based life. You're going to have fear-based consequences, especially as a nation. If you collectively decide that you have to make peace with Egypt because you're afraid of Syria, and so they might We need to have allies. We need to form alliances. And Isaac in particular was always saying you don't need alliances, you need God. You need to affirm and know your oneness with God. That's where your strength lies. That's where peace lies. So I think the faster we come into this big picture awareness that allows us to make careful, creative choices, the faster we move beyond current events to the eternal truth that is the kingdom of heaven. So I'm suggesting that we want to look at the world today with the same awareness that we bring to the history of the Hebrew people when we discuss the Bible. Same perception, same approach, same eagerness to find the spiritual truth beneath what's happening. I can't be the only one here this morning who is wearying of the constant daily drama that we seem to be caught up in. Isn't it time to end this particular learning curve and move on to more loving, healing expressions of our true creative power? Could I hear an amen? Amen. So, I write a message every week and post it on Facebook. I've been doing that for like a month now, and it's amazing how many, just hundreds of people are reading it and passing it around. I'm quite surprised. This week, the message I'll post on Tuesday, I've decided that if God is love, which we know from 1 James chapter 4, God is love, then maybe we should try using the word love instead of the word God. And I've decided to try that for a while and see what happens if I use love when I need to name the divine. So, what that does to our first unity principle is that love is absolute good. And love is everywhere present. Love is everywhere present. And this becomes the first and most vital truth, I think, that we bring to the events we see unfolding on or through our various media. However divisive and conflicted things may seem, it is all love. There is nothing but love anywhere in the universe. Love is not a goal that we have got to strive for. It's not a goal that we have to beat ourselves up because we haven't achieved it yet. It's not to be achieved, it's to be recognized. It's to be expressed. Love is what already is. I can't emphasize that enough because that in itself, all by itself, is the most radical idea we can bring into this general mix, don't you think? It's all love. Republicans and Democrats alike, from Donald Trump to Barry Sanders, they're all beings of love. And against this realization of unity, any divisions we perceive hold no significance in truth. Now, that's not to say we refuse to see differences. It reminds us that we address differences as the beings of love we are. I have little patience with people who first discover new thought and decide that it excuses them from being involved in the world in any way. I'm a spiritual being. I don't vote. I'm a spiritual being. I don't have an opinion. I'm a spiritual being. You're a spiritual being who's here to create. And to create, you have to make choices. And to make choices, you have to be willing to experience duality while recognizing that it isn't the truth. And I think the second important energy that we can bring to the table is the often overlooked distinction between judgment and discernment. Judgment is dangerous because it comes from an insistence on duality. If I'm judging, I'm creating duality. Us and them. Liberal, conservative, whatever the labels I'm using. If I'm judging, I am affirming duality. It's a juicy, juicy feeling. Go to the web any day and watch how juicy people are getting about everything. Because our mortal minds love to judge. Our mortal minds love that. It creates high drama, and it forces us into a sense of justifiable outrage. Don't you love justifiable outrage? I'm sorry I'm angry, but it's your fault. I'm just reacting to what is. How dare the world not conform to my absolutely correct perceptions about everything? Sean was saying on the way over that he gets impatient with people who, are adamant about the right to protest and the right to express their feelings until a conservative comes on and expresses a different view, and then they want to run them out of town. That's happening even on college campuses. It's appalling. Speakers that are not considered politically correct are being sent away. That's judgment. That's pure judgment. And we're seeing a lot of judgment these days. There's enormous indignation about practically everything else. This is just one tiny example. You know how prevalent this is. But there was a big kerfuffle on Facebook this week because there were several spelling errors in some of President Trump's tweets. Well, would that his spelling errors were all I had to worry about or think about. That is the least of my concerns. But they're saying, other presidents did not have spelling errors. Well, other presidents had filters. They had staff people who corrected their spelling errors before they got out into the public. Donald Trump just goes for it. It goes directly out, and there's nobody there to say that's not how you spell council or you're using that word wrong. That's just one example of judgment running wild. Now, discernment is an aspect of our true being. It's one of the arsenal of spiritual tools we use as we set about our purpose of creating the kingdom. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, brilliantly defined the 12 powers, 12 significant ways that define the Christ. The Christ is the power that contains all powers, so 12 is only a suggestion. But these are the ones that, if we work with them, will help move us along the road to the kingdom very much faster. One of those has always been called judgment. But it really is, if you read his material on it, it's really discernment. It is the ability to see both the apparent duality and the true unity at the same time. That's a wonderful spiritual gift, isn't it? To be able to see the duality and realize that some choices have to be made. I have to vote, I have to have an opinion on things, and that's what I'm here for. But I don't have to do that believing that that's all that there is, that is the only reality. I can be both and. I can maintain my spiritual awareness and still discern aspects of life around me that I might want to change or that I might want to call attention to. But it's all, love. It's all love. So we discern with love. We're not blaming anyone. We're not making anybody wrong or evil. We're simply discerning that there might be other choices that would be better made. Other choices that would be, and this is becoming one of my favorite words because it replaces good and bad, and that is efficient. We want to make the most efficient choices so that we move along toward our creative purpose as easily as possible. Expending our energies where they do the most good rather than just squandering them right and left. So everything that presents itself to us in the world around us is an invitation to exercise our spiritual guidance, to make the choices that will help us collectively transition from a world based in fear to one based in love. Because that's another quality to prophecy, and we are all called to be prophets. Prophets could see the fear expressing while knowing a higher dimension. And because I am who I am, you know that it reminded me of something in the Bible. That's why it's sitting here behind me, isn't it? It reminds me of Joshua's great speech to the Hebrew people as he was stepping down as their leader, which he had never wanted to be particularly in the first place. He was a soldier. But he led them once Moses left. He led them across the Jordan, and he led them through the process, the sometimes bloody and painful process, of claiming their promised land. And now, he's at the end of his service. The land has been divided among the 12 tribes, and this homogenous group of people that have been together for 40 plus years have been through unimaginable things together, are going to split up and begin to do their work, begin to claim their piece of the promised land, begin to contribute what they have to contribute to creating the overall picture. And he wants to leave them with a thought. He wants to address the one concern that he has left as he leaves. And this is chapter 24. Now therefore, fear the Lord. Now, fear the Lord is the fundamentalist favorite. But the word really doesn't mean fear, it means be in awe of. Be in awe of, be aware of a power immensely greater than yours. Fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in faithfulness. Put away the gods which your fathers... which your fathers served beyond the river and in Egypt, and served the Lord. We're going to read that thought again because I broke it up. Put away the gods which your fathers served beyond the river and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. And if you be unwilling to serve the Lord, choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods your fathers served in the region beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. The metaphysics of that are almost overwhelming. They are so clear. They are so powerful. Put away the gods of your fathers. Those beliefs in separation, in limitation, in judgment, in good and evil. Put that away now. That served to get us here, but it's time to serve the Lord. You can choose to serve the Amorites, the gods of the Amorites around you. How many Amorites do you know around us? You know, people who still believe in duality, people who still believe in judgment and punishment and fear as a motivating factor for life. Those people are here. You can choose to join them if you want to. Choose this day whom you will serve. The thing is, you have to make a choice. You have to decide, I'm going to be an Amorite, or I'm going to continue to hang on to the faith of my fathers that they was good enough in Egypt, it's good enough for me today. Or I choose to serve the Lord of my being, the Christ. I choose to serve my own spiritual truth. Jesus came along to teach us what was meant by the word Lord. He substituted Christ. The presence of God, the individuation of God that we are. It is not, as I said earlier, it's not that we are these human shells that contain a spiritual element somewhere deep inside, like a raisin in a bun, as Mary Butterworth loves to say. That's not the point. The point is that we are the Lord. We are the Christ. Everything we are is love. Everything we are is an individuation of the divine. And by choosing that, by choosing to know that, to believe that, to express that in my life, I am helping to create the kingdom, no matter what is going on in my life. You know, you could be facing a perfectly minor challenge or irritation. You know, the traffic could be going slower than you would have traffic go. You know, and use it. Choose to serve the Lord. Choose to be a blessing. Choose to see everybody safely home. Use every opportunity to be the Lord. Because we're always choosing. We're always choosing what to believe. We have a hard time letting go of the beliefs of our fathers, don't we? We have a hard time letting go of what we were taught as children, of what religion meant then. We have a hard time letting go of the input from the world around us. The Amorites are everywhere, people. You know? And the Amorites have taken over the web, I think, sometimes. I think they have. It's always a choice. It's always your choice. You are never powerless. You are never a victim. That may be the most challenging aspect of growing in spiritual awareness. You have to put aside victimhood. You can't let everything be someone else's fault. You know, if they would do this, if they would do that, everything would be fine and I'd be able to relax. You create your reality and you create your contribution to our collective reality. Choose this day whom you will serve. So, I don't know if that's helpful and meaningful at all. It's really what was up for me this week. I felt totally beset by the Amorites around me, you know? And it's easy to buy into what they have to say. But on both sides, you know? But particularly those who are attacking President Trump. He was not my choice. And I certainly discern that a lot of what he's choosing is counterproductive to the expression of love in the world. I don't judge that, but people are getting outraged. How dare he be president? How dare he have the power? Well, we gave him the power. We collectively gave him the power because we have some lessons to learn along this way. So let us, as I said earlier, let us complete this learning curve so that we can move on. And we do that by saying thank you for the opportunity to realize the consequences of certain choices. Thank you for helping us realize that those consequences are not things that we would choose. Thank you for waking us up to the possibility of love. And now let us move forward collectively in being that love and expressing that love and discovering what the kingdom of heaven will look like. I really believe that, this is something else that came up this week, that I really believe that something happens spiritually when you awaken spiritually. When you just begin to realize the truth of who you are. Something happens. And what that means, the reason it came up this week, what that means is I think our involvement in and our interest in what's happening on this dimension does not die when we do. I think unlike previous lifetimes, if you believe in reincarnation, as I do, unlike previous lifetimes where we came into the next lifetime having forgotten what we learned in the previous one, or almost entirely forgotten. Now we are awake. Now we are conscious. Now if there's more work for us to do in another expression, another human expression, or as a dog or a cat or whatever I have to contribute, I will do that consciously and knowingly, which makes times like these very, very important and very, very exciting on a spiritual basis. Not exciting because people are screaming at each other and who knows what's going to happen next. But that kind of excitement I can do without. But exciting because I know that this is creating the kingdom. I know that there's divine order expressing. I know this. And I know that I am going to understand it more and more as I go along. I can't wait for the rest of today. I can't wait for tomorrow. I can't wait to come back with all of you in your beautiful new home and discover what we've learned about the kingdom in the meantime. Love you very, very much. And standing in front of you is a joy and a privilege. Blessings.